Welcome back to Agency Ascend, where we talk to people driving real results in the independent insurance agency world. Whether it's our carrier partners or our own team members, we've always got some great people here with us. And today, as always, I have Jessica, RVP extraordinaire, that's been absolutely crushing it. We'll get into that a little bit later, but her pipeline is phenomenal. But more importantly, we actually have two of our other team members here with us today, Mindi, Monaco, and Robyn Dallas. They're our agency growth coaches. And so we're actually going to dive in a little bit and understand more kind of what a growth coach is, what you do, and more importantly, how we help our agencies succeed through y'all's efforts.
If you have already worked with them and you're part of our member base, you know how fantastic these two are. If you have never experienced working with a growth coach, you're going to get a preview of what these two bring to the table and bring to the field to our agents every day. So we're really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we actually kind of get into the nuts and bolts of like what a growth coach is, what y'all do, let's actually hear a little bit more about y'all. Kind of like, what was your background? How'd you get into insurance? How did y'all pivot from, carrier, sales, production, whatever, into your current roles?
Mindi, do you want to start us?
Sure. So I began my insurance career as a captive agent with AAA. So I was in field sales. I was in the Arlington office, and I was there for 10 years. And I had no sales experience when I started, so I learned everything from the ground up. So it was an incredible time of growth. I quickly rose to the top of the leaderboard, going on the trips, and that was so much fun. But the most rewarding part was that because I was there for so long, any new agents that came in, I had a chance to mentor everyone. And I think that was the most rewarding part because I saw agents like myself who came in no sales experience at all. And they were the ones now going on the trips, right? And being the top of the leaderboard. So that was really cool. Now, I will say it didn't come without challenges having to meet my own production goals and mentor all the new agents too.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
But I quickly realized that coaching and guiding others came naturally to me. And I really enjoyed it. So I heard about the growth coach position at Comerica, and it felt like a perfect fit because in many ways it was what I was already doing. But now I had a chance to work with agency owners, not just producers. And it just seemed like such a natural fit just on a larger scale.
That's awesome. Took the experience from production, from working agency side, and now you get to work and help agents in the day-to-day that are doing just that. So that's awesome. And how long have you been with us at Comerica?
7.5 years.
So you've been through all kinds of markets and tons of different types of agencies, from ground up to existing agents that have joined. You've seen a lot.
I have. And, I feel like we're finally breaking out of the hard market. So it's a really exciting time.
Yeah. And kudos, you actually just brought a new carrier to the table, and we just pinned a local deal with a new home carrier. So that's really exciting. So you're not just helping agents in the day-to-day, but you're also helping to bring more resources and support to all of the agents here.
Absolutely. And that's a huge part of what we do, right? So we have our partner carriers where SIA is always trying to work to bring more carriers because that's what being independent is, right? Access to carriers and companies to write with. So constantly trying to grow.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Well, we're going to get into more of that. But before we jump into the weeds, Robyn, do you want to give us a little bit about your background and what brought you here?
Sure. I didn't grow up wanting to be an insurance agent. Just go ahead and start there.
That wasn't your third grade dream?
That wasn't.
I actually drew pictures of, deck pages and said, this will be my life one day.
You did? Okay.
No, I definitely did not. But there's probably one kid out there in elementary school somewhere.
And we want to find them.
That's going to be an actuary one day.
we
want to find you.
But so how'd you get into it?
Actually, I was kind of thrust into insurance due to a family event. But I had a gentleman take me kind of in under his wing and tell me at that point, look, you don't have a college degree, but we can get your insurance license, right? And so he took me in and pushed me to get my life and health back in the day. You started there, right? And then you did your PNC. And since then, I will forever be grateful to him because I've been able to keep that license and carry that license with me and become grandfathered, which is everybody's goal, right?
Oh, lucky
no more CE.
you.
So I started on the independent agent side, did that for about 10 or 11 years. Went and did underwriting for about 3 years. After that, underwrote for a home carrier here in the area, which I learned a lot because coming from the agency side when I ran the personal lines book to being an underwriter, it made a lot of those questions make sense, right? And so now I could see, oh, okay, this is how it works. I did that for a little bit and then went off and started doing marketing. So I've done marketing ever since. Been with a couple other carriers. I won't go into detail who they are. Mostly on the personal line side. I did do some on the commercial for a little over a year. And then a recruiter reached out to me and you mentioned Coverica. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll listen. I'd worked with Coverica on the retail agency side through some other roles that I'd had too. So, but agency growth coach, yeah, I love it. I've been here about 7 months now, almost 7. So I'm still learning a lot. And to try to get back in the mode of not just concentrating on one carrier, learning them all.
Yeah.
Again, has been kind of fun, truthfully. And the relationship building is huge. But to watch an agency grow as a territory manager for some of the other carriers, I got to see that, start at square one and bringing a carrier in and starting there and then going forward. Well, it's kind of the same thing here. You're bringing in an agent and starting at square one with most of them. And some of them are captive, so they know the one carrier. You got to teach them all of them, right? So it is fun. It's fun to watch them grow and to start at one point and move forward. So I've enjoyed it.
Oh, I bet it. And I bet that underwriting background was huge and instrumental in helping with that because you have a different perspective on the risk than what somebody that's been purely in production, right? So how does that kind of play into your coaching when you are working with these agents?
First of all, to remind the agent, you never tick off an underwriter, ever, ever, or even a rep for that matter, because they hold your life in their hands, basically, right? It does help make more sense of any questions that they come back and ask you. About a dog, I mean, it can be as simple as that. About a roof, the age of the roof. Well, let me tell you why. Let me go into the reinsurance side of it. I was able to see a lot of that with one of my carriers too. So it was interesting, and it's made an impact, very big impact.
That's awesome. So you guys gave a little bit of your backgrounds, alluded to some of the stuff you guys work on, but what does a day in the life of a growth coach look like? I think for a lot of people, we say growth coach and they're like, what does that mean? That's new territory. So can you guys kind of give us an idea of what you go through in a day?
So first of all, no 2 days are alike.
Sounds like insurance in general.
We get curveballs thrown at us every day, but that's what makes it exciting, right? Normally, I'll start my day by checking my agent's metrics, going over production reports, looking at production, growth, loss ratio, retention, just to see where their book stands or if there's any room for improvement or even room for celebration. I know it's a misconception that, growth coach is only going to knock at my door when there's something wrong. That's not it at all. We're here to celebrate the wins with all of our agents too. So, good or bad, we'll look at production reports and see. It just helps me track who might need some extra attention. And then my days are filled with meetings. So I'm meeting with carriers, with agencies, either in person or on Zoom. So we'll put together some reports and tailor them to that specific agent. But from there, it's just a mix of phone calls, visits. We'll talk to carriers about new appetites, underwriting guidelines, work with them on special projects. The biggest thing we talk to carriers about is how do I get my agents a direct appointment so they can start writing themselves. Also, just, again, talk about wins, who's doing really well with that specific carrier, or just who needs help. Maybe we need to do an action plan. We'll co-travel, come in together. The biggest part of our job is just support. Especially being in the independent world, coming from captive, you lose that support of the agent in the cubicle next to you. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're here for, is just to offer support for our agents and just be a sounding board. Sometimes it's just as simple as that. They just need to talk something out. That's what we're here for.
Well, and y'all also bring in that different perspective, right? Because you're truly a third party that your key interest is making that agent successful, right? So you're not the carrier rep that has an interest of protecting their book, right? You're not an agency owner that's biased. Your whole purpose is there to make them successful and celebrate those wins. So that's got to be fun to be able to be slightly detached.
Absolutely.
Very objective.
And like you said, a carrier rep just is there to represent that one carrier, right?
Yeah.
But we're there to represent the whole success of your agency. So it's not just agency owners. We'll work with producers too. We'll coach them. We could do role playing with a producer on how to talk to a client. We could talk about target marketing. It's just, we really let the agency drive us to what we talk about, right? We don't want to come in with an agenda. We're here to support whatever that specific agency needs. So it can look different for everybody.
And now that's key, right? Because we have agencies that we have, Chris will refer to them as the mom and pop shops, right? Mm-hmm. We have some lifestyle businesses. We also have some incredibly large, very professional, big agencies, right? So you come at from a different perspective and you kind of meet them where they are, where their goals are, and then help support those goals. So again, we have no bias other than we just want to make you successful.
Absolutely. And their wins are our wins.
Yeah.
Their losses are our losses, right? We're invested in the agency as a whole, not just with one specific carrier.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned co-travel, so I'm going to pivot over to Robyn for a minute. Since you've been on the carrier side, what's the difference in traveling with us and having a carrier come co-travel with you now versus what it was like when you were purely on that side, right? That's got to be a slightly different dynamic. And does it help you having that background?
Yes. And as a territory manager, I would have loved to have had a Mindi to ride with me, right? Because it gives you that support. And it gives you a little more background, first of all, on who you're talking to. Because as territory manager, sometimes you're seeing so many in a week. Whenever you do have a Mindi or somebody to ride with you and to kind of give you a little bit of the background, tell you a little bit more about them. It helps with that relationship because relationship's what it's all about. I mean, that's insurance. Insurance is a piece of paper until you have water running out the front door, right? So sometimes, that relationship is key. And that helps with the relationship and helps push production or maybe see why they're not producing. You know, what is going on? Have they had a change in turnover of who's their CRMs and who's their producers? And sometimes that helps too. Or sometimes it helps too in knowing the area that they attack. Definitely, as a territory manager, I would have loved having a Mindi or a Robyn right along for
That's
sure.
great.
And I'm going to steal that line, by the way. Insurance is just a piece of paper until you have water running out the front door.
There you go.
That was great.
Okay.
It's the title for this episode,
There you go.
actually. One of the things that I have fondly started calling you guys, and I don't even know if I've told you guys how I refer to this often when I'm explaining how y'all operate with our agents, is I talk about you guys kind of like travel agents and talking about your reference on hold on, it goes somewhere, I promise.
All right, yeah.
Talking about your reference on different size of agencies, right? Sometimes when you're going somewhere, you could be driving down 75. Sometimes it could be you're taking a plane. Sometimes it's a train. Sometimes it's a cruise, for goodness sakes. But different agencies go at different speeds, whether it's personal lines, whether it's commercial. And the reason why I say travel agent is you guys really help give them the tools and resources to get where they're going. That's how I look at a lot of it. When you talk about you don't necessarily walk in with this intense agenda, you do walk in with this whole bucket of resources. And that's what I love about what you guys do all the time is you may be going to a brand new captive agent saying, let's just give you the lay of the land. You are driving a car right now. You can't get in a plane and take off, right? You're riding through the MGA until you can get to direct contracts. So that is how I fondly refer to y'all, is you help navigate as a travel agent, giving them the resources. Can you guys expand a little bit on what that looks like? What is the difference between working with a captive agent where you're really just starting that process versus an existing agency that's coming and maybe they need to build out a department or something like that? What does that look like with you guys?
So I think with a captive agency, it's a little different because from my experience starting at captive, You come in there and everything's done for you. You have a CRM, you have a management system, everything's set up, right? You're ready to quote an issue from day one. That's not the case here in the independent world. You have to do that all yourself, right? So onboarding for us is making sure everyone knows the tools and the systems first and foremost. That's where we start, knowing tools and systems available to you as an independent agent. And then from there, management systems, CRM. Then we talk about, okay, we have this all set up, the back office set up. Now let's talk about marketing. How are we going to bring leads in? Then let's even drill down further to target marketing. Yeah, we don't want to just market to everyone. What's something that you can talk the talk on? What's something that interests you? I think that's especially for commercial insurance, that is the best place to start is if you have a hobby or a club, or just because it's all relationship building in commercial. If you can talk the talk, that's the way to get your foot in the door. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about carriers. Now that is the biggest misconception coming from captive to independent is everyone thinks I'm independent now. I want all the carriers. I want access to everybody, which is true. You should have access to everyone being independent. That's the reason you're going independent. But we have to be careful on that. And I'm probably the biggest stickler because you have to feed these appointments too. So I want to help you get appointments. That's what growth coaches are here for. We have the relationships with the carriers. But as an independent agent, you need to understand that the carriers are going to have quote volume requirements. You have to feed them. So we just want to make sure, and that's what Rob and I are here for, to make sure each carrier is a fit for each agency. Now, we do have our internal MGA, Access Plus, which they are wonderful and amazing at helping you learn the carrier and see which carrier is actually a fit for your agency.
That's awesome. I love breaking all that down. Can you guys talk about how you connect the resources and tools from SIAA? So we have this large national company that brings a lot of resources when you become an affiliate of the group in Coverica. And another reason why I love y'all is because you actually help people connect to resources. Like, I'm one of those people where I need to be connected to it, even though there's probably a website where I can find it. If you just make me sit down and do it, that's where the magic happens.
Or there may even be like an email that was sent a month ago that it
preparing you for something.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's always great to have somebody that's, knocking and saying, let's go through this together right now. What does that look like?
We spend a lot of time going through SIA Connect, which I'll be truthful, I learn something new every time I open it myself. We walk them through Market Finder, which does show them exactly who we have available to them. We show them who the partner carriers are and how to use them and how best to use them and take advantage of that. We also walk them through where to find your foundation, where to find your videos, your how-tos, where to report. Now, we don't walk them through the actual reporting because God knows that's way over my head, but we can show them exactly where to go in that and make them feel more comfortable. We also point out the Web CE. Whenever it's time to do that, remind them, hey, you guys, they have that available to you. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of some of the marketing tools. So we'll walk them through each of those things, and probably not in that order that I just gave you, but it does give them a general idea of what all SIAA has to offer, which is a whole lot. And they need to forget that. I know right now SIA is in the process of kind of revamping the website too. So every time me and Mindi get on, we find something, oh, wait, this has been
we
moved.
Just bought an analytics company.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we have an AI platform. There's a new strategic wholesale partner. Great.
Okay. But it's very, and I try to at least once a week go in and look at it myself to kind of see what's changed and what's been added. And, if we've missed a carrier partner or something that maybe has been added and they haven't got to us yet, they're getting to us later this week, we can get ahead of it a little bit. So it helps.
Give some more information.
Now, with all these tools available to us, right, and they're not just the digital tools, but also the co-traveling, just the focus that we can give our agents. I'm sure y'all have both seen some incredible success stories, right? So what, I almost want to do what's the biggest success that you've you've had since you've been in your role as a growth coach?
Oh, that's
Obviously
a good
sanitized
question.
a little bit, right? Unless you really want to toot horns. And then also maybe like what's a big landmine? Because sometimes we can be overcome by everything that's out there. And to your point, maybe having 10 appointments is too much, right? So what's the biggest win that you've had as a growth coach? Go.
My biggest win, so the majority of agents that come from captive are personal lines agents. And so, as you know, since 2020, we've been in a hard market in personal lines. So everyone's intimidated by commercial lines. But because of the hard market, agents have been forced to pivot to commercial. And I've had some agents that just told me at the beginning, no way. There's no way I'm ever touching commercial. I don't understand it. It's too complicated. Stay away. But because of the hard market, I've had some agents that said, you know what? I'm going to dive into this. I'm going to do it. I need to. I can't just stay stagnant. So they took training classes. They work with our Access Plus commercial department. And now I have one agent. She must have 5 appointments right now, and she is killing it.
Wow.
And it's so fun
That's
when the carriers come in, and she was in my top 5 this time when we just met with carriers. And me and the carrier rep were laughing together. We were like, remember when she was so afraid to even attempt commercial, and now look at her. She's at the top of the leaderboard.
Wow.
It's
really
awesome.
So if we've been primarily focused on personal lines, it's fun because you actually see the transition now to where, about almost 40% of our book is now commercial. So that's got to be a big win for you to not only see those individual agents, but also collectively see that transition. And this is where we got to also put a little shout out to Grant and our Access Plus team. If you are struggling on commercial side, reach out to him. He's been absolutely crushing it, helping people win some good commercial business out there.
And don't forget about Access Plus either, because they're the training ground. If you're scared, if you're timid to do commercial, go through Access Plus. They're there to walk right beside you. You don't have to be intimidated because you have a support system here.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. What's one of your biggest wins?
Gosh, with me only being here 7 months, that's kind of a tough one. Kind of. I don't have his 7.5 years to think back. But I would have to go with probably Nick Purvis. Nick started out it was Nationwide, correct, Mindy? Right?
It was.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Started out with Nationwide, and he's been with us a good little bit, but he leans totally on Access Plus for everything. I mean, I'm talking all of his personal lines. If he had a commercial, he'd throw it in over there. He would throw a little bit at Nationwide, but everything was Access Plus. We had a carrier come to us this year and offered to give out appointments, and Mindy and I talked and agreed that, Nick needs to take a step out, because we looked at his Access Plus book. Oh my gosh, it's huge. And so trying to convince him to do that, it took some convincing and some relationship building and some, kind of positive feedback and pushing, but he did it. And so, in fact, he called me at one point, I guess probably about 2 or 3 months in, and he said, I don't know, Robyn, I don't know if I can do this. I think I'm going to have to give my code back. I said, oh, no. No, that is a definite no. We never give a code back. You can do this, and you can make it work.
That's cool.
And so I did put him in contact again with the territory rep for that carrier and said, please make that attempt to get out there. Mm-hmm. And then I went out and followed up with Nick myself, and he's pushing along now, and he's making some progress.
That's great.
So, I told him, I said, don't ever come to me again saying you're going to give up a code. Not going to happen.
And that's phenomenal coaching, because people don't realize just how big of a hurdle that is. And this we're all tuned on to Mindy's horn a little bit. She was able to get another one of our members a recent reappointment with.
And that's not easy, I'll tell you.
That, I got to say, those are 2 incredible wins, because we talk so often about how hard it is to get to direct appointments. Sometimes we don't always talk about the uncomfortability for agents, because they take that relationship so seriously. Because even though we do have reduced production requirements that we negotiate as a group, even though you're going to make higher commissions, even though you're going to get profit sharing opportunities, it can still feel kind of scary to step out, especially when you're used to an MGA where we help with some frontline underwriting. in. We help you build some guardrails. And I love that you pushed him because that's a huge opportunity for him. At the end of the day, he can still write through our team, but you're actually bringing more revenue to his agency and pushing him on something he can do. So that's powerful because you're wholeheartedly advocating for the agency. So that's so incredibly exciting. And this reappointment, can you talk about this a little bit without saying names? Because this was a really big win. And I think you were even like, we're not going to talk about it until it happens. And I saw it one day in our L10 we have headlines on our meetings, and I wanted to send the confetti up. This is really cool.
So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about when captives come to independent. And it's a kid in a candy store. They want all the appointments, right? So this is what happened. This agent got all the appointments. And he had the volume to feed it. But it's also not just about volume. It's does your volume match these carriers, what their appetite is and where they're writing. So we just, for one reason or another, this agency was just not a fit with that specific carrier at that time. Now, I will say, when a carrier is about to terminate a code, it is better to have a mutual termination, not just a one-sided. And I think that's why this agent got this code back, because he voluntarily said, you know what, at this time, I don't believe that this one carrier is a fit for my agency. But as I grow my agency, as things change, if I surrender this code now, will I have an opportunity to get it back? So because it was approached that way and documented that way, now this agency is almost a $10 million agency, right? So we went back to this carrier and I showed them the numbers and talked about how much staff they have now, how it looks completely different than it did 3-4 years ago when they surrendered the code. And the territory manager he was so excited, and he could see where this agency came from to where they are now, and he could see that, you know what, this is a fit now.
But that's a huge testament to your coaching, though, because I'm sure that agency wouldn't have known how to strategically exit the relationship with the carrier in the proper way without you guiding that and saying, hey, this is where we're at. We're looking at the numbers. This isn't looking great right now. And then you setting them up and you having all the knowledge, all the information, and you going in prepared and ready to that carrier years later with all the evidentiary support that they're ready to maintain this code at a new level. That is an amazing testament to what you guys do as growth coaches, because when you're completely independent, we hear this all the time. You're off on an island. You don't know where to go to get that kind of support or coaching on how do I navigate this relationship. So that's a great one.
And it also speaks to something both of y'all mentioned before, is the relationships, right? You could have numbers, you could have data, you can have tools, all that stuff. But if you don't have those relationships, it really doesn't matter, So that's also a strength that the growth coach brings, is you're almost building bridges. Maintain your relationships on both sides of the aisle, building those bridges so that way both sides can benefit.
Building bridges.
And go together.
Bridge builders. Maybe it's better than travel agent. We'll have to work on that.
Yeah. Come to me for the taglines.
I'm still going to keep my travel agent. So you talked a little bit about commercial and agents hesitant to jump in. But since I've been here, I have seen you really give an abundance of resources to help agents really help build out their commercial departments. Can you talk a little bit about ICA and BIA and how you help agents get those resources to jump in?
Absolutely. So ICA, if you go look them up, I believe it's ICA.com. They are a master agency just like we are, but they have a training wing, a completely separate training wing. And so we refer agents to them for Commercial 101. It's a 9-week program. I believe you meet twice a week for an hour. Robyn's taken it, so she can, if you need any insight, go to Robyn. She can tell you exactly what the course is. But it really is it takes the scariness out of it because it gives you a foundation, somewhere to start. Just as simple as, what is a BOP? What is GL? Some agents don't even know if you're coming from personal lines. So I would recommend take that first. So that's coverage training. BIA, Business Insurance Advantage, is a program that SIA offers, and that's incredible too. It's just a little different. It's sales coaching. So it's a 6-week program, and you have a mentor from SIA and a growth coach, and you meet once a week for 6 weeks. And during this time, we talk about target marketing. But we don't just talk about it, you actually have to build a target market campaign. and start reaching out to,
I love that.
to whoever you're
Get in the
targeting.
trenches.
And we teach it's not just about buying 1,000 postcards and sending them out. It really has to do with follow through, and you need maybe only send 5 postcards because you can actually control that and follow up. You can't follow up with 1,000 random postcards. So agents really learn just how to just be just deep and focused and have a niche.
I love that. What was your experience with the ICA course, Robyn? How was that for you?
It was amazing, truthfully. I like the bringing up relationship again, but the relationship with not just the instructor, but the other agents that were attending as well. And they had some good questions too. And I learned a lot just from them and what they had asked and what particulars and what niches they were talking about. And so, I did a lot more probably listening, and sometimes that helps even more than participating, I guess. But yeah, very beneficial. I mean, I walked out of there wanting to go get my own cyber liability, right? So, I mean, I didn't realize how important really that was until taking that course. And so, yeah, I think it was definitely worth it. I would encourage anybody, especially who's considering commercial at all, and even those that have been in insurance a while. I've been in insurance a while. I learned a lot. And
Never stop
like I
learning.
said, it was awesome. It was worth it.
And we're actually working on having David from ICA. He's going to be coming on our podcast. So stay tuned if you want to see some education and resource support to help grow knowledge. We're going to have him come on board and tell us more about that in the coming weeks, too.
He will tell. He's a good talker. He's good, though.
He's a wonderful personality.
So now, we've talked about a lot of the data, the tools, things like that. How important is mindset to an agent's success, right? Because think about it, I'll put our tools, I'll put our processes up against anybody else in the market, right? But how important is mindset, and what type of mindset do you really need to have in order to be a successful independent agent, especially in today's market, right?
You got to be excited. I mean, you have to be excited.
Just like about the Rangers, because they're not doing well. Sorry.
Hey, you can still be excited about baseball, right? It's playoff time. This is the best time of year. Yeah. Let's just go ahead and say that. No, you have to be excited. You have to be positive, right? Yeah. You can't take the no's as a definite, stop here. No. Yeah. And you have to pick yourself up and go the next day and give it another shot. So after you write your friends and family, where are you going next, right? And find that niche. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And if you do need some positive feedback, call me or Mindi. We'll tell you. You can do this.
So how many people struggle writing friends and family versus writing complete strangers? Right? Because sometimes I think that's the harder
sometimes
audience,
it's
right?
harder.
I didn't like to write my family. I'll tell you that. Yeah. But a lot do start with that. We have an ISM here recently that has said, okay, I'm going to start off with my friends and family. Okay. Then what? Yeah. Then what are we going to do? Where are you going to target? Is it the whole state? Is it an area? What kind of clientele are you looking at? Let's start there. Because you have to have a starting point, right? And then when you reach that plateau, it's like, okay, you've got to think out of the box. So what you've been doing has worked, but it's kind of stopped. So now we have to do something different. And what is that going to be? And so it's helping them kind of refocus and understand just because you hit a roadblock doesn't mean you quit ever. So
kind of hearing flexible, strong perseverance, ability to roll with the punches, right?
Yeah, because you're going to get punched
Yes,
a lot.
A lot. Now, what about, so a word we don't hear a lot of in insurance is creativity, right? And so this is where I'm actually going to pivot to Mindi with you and your journalism background. How does that actually fit into insurance, right? Because that's a very unique way to get into insurance, TV,
Sure.
In journalism, right? But is that creativity? Does that help? Does that play into
Creativity, building relationships, communicating. I would say don't be afraid to be creative as an insurance agent. Marketing, relationship building. We have an agent right now that I can't even get her to sit at her computer, right? Because she's going 1,000 different directions every time she has an idea. She's so creative. It's inspiring. But no, that does not need to be stifled just because we all think we have desk jobs now. Definitely, and especially in commercial, right? You have to be creative and think out of the box and to target market even. I don't ever want anyone to stifle their creativity.
Very nice. And how about you, Jessica? Because I know you grew up in insurance.
I grew up around insurance. Yeah. I mean, I guess I kind of am a insurance kid. You know, I think whenever you're looking at running a small business, having the drive to continue to wake up and be excited about the challenge of that small business, but also the cool thing about it is that you get to make your own decisions. I mean, isn't that why most small business owners get into it? When I talk to people, I'm like, look, there are a lot of ways to write insurance, but ownership is not always the path for everybody, right? So if you really love having your name on the door and carrying the responsibility that comes with that, wanting to be the person that wears 15 hats, that does sales, that does operations, that manages profitability, that has the difficult conversations with carriers, with employees, you get all of that. Or you could go write for a big agency and you could just write insurance too. So I don't think ownership is for everyone, but I do think fantastic owners are very creative. I think that they bring new ideas to the table and that keeps them invigorated on the next iteration of what their business is going to be. They continue to adapt, they continue to learn, they continue to ask questions. And when they're faced with challenges, they look at it from a creative lens to say, this is exciting that I get to figure out how to jump over this hump. And then they reach out and they utilize the resources at hand to continue to evolve. So I think creativity is essential. I mean, I am so inspired by some of the agents I sit down with, and there's some that have just incredible operations minds, and they're behind the scenes building out efficiencies and processes, diving into those details. And then there's people that are like, I'm just the relationship. I have a great operations person, and I am bringing in all of these relationships all the time. So it plays differently, right? Depending on how well that owner knows themselves, I think, too.
Well, in the needs of each individual agency. And I'll tell you, that's one thing at a recent event that I came away really inspired with was just how solutions-oriented a lot of these really successful agencies are.
Solutions-oriented, best line.
What they're doing with the technology available to us today. I keep going back to this, a phone app to get a commercial lines quote in less than a minute, where everything that's being filled out on the front end flows straight into the Accord forms on the back end, seamless to the user, and they end up with a soft quote in a minute.
I will say, just on that topic of technology, the people that are not utilizing technology resources to create solutions and efficiencies, they will be behind, because there are these agencies. I mean, I sat down with an agency owner yesterday. We had a great lunch, and it was amazing. He could tell you the average age of the homeowners in his book. He could tell you the makeup down to every age group, what products he was placing them with. He has taken his management system and utilized all the AI tools to audit his book. And he's got a scaling plan just utilizing the current book of business that he has and how he's going to grow that organically another 20, 30%. And he is running one of the most lean operations for the volume of the agency. And it was incredible to get to sit down and talk through it. And it's just light years from where some other agencies are. So getting to, when we talk about growth coaches and you guys connecting with agents, I know one of the things we've all mentioned is, and especially when people come from captive or they're purely independent and they have been for a while, they feel like they're on an island and they're looking for connection. And that's one of the things I love about the events that you guys drive and how you bring people out of their offices or you bring information to them, is being able to convene with a group. Because the great thing about our group is that we aggregate premium up. So when you're strong, you make the group stronger, and you're really feeding a bigger beast that brings revenue to everybody. But it's that kind of connection. Iron sharpens iron, getting to sit down, be a part of a mastermind group, and open playbooks to say, how do I build this segment in my agency? I think that's really powerful. So there's a lot going on with tech, and I'm excited for what we're doing as just a network and bringing agents together to talk about that. 'Cause some are doing it really well, and some are like, not quite sure yet.
And I'm excited for what we have for our future initiatives and what we're working on over the next 6 months from a tech stack. That's another podcast, though. So
that is another
tune in.
podcast.
But no, really, we have some big things. We've invested heavily, and we're going to continue to do that to help us grow. So we're coming to that time of the show where we're going to wrap up. But before we do, we have a tradition. We like to find out a little closing statement from y'all. What's recent book, quote, movie line,
Netflix
Jessica
special.
saying Netflix, something, but just something that's inspired you.
Or made you
recently,
laugh.
or made you laugh. But typically we try to send around books, right? But just something that you've read or followed lately that inspired you that you want to share with our audience. So, Mindi?
Well, actually, right now, currently, I'm rereading Atomic Habits just because I think sometimes myself, I think too big picture in the end result, where Atomic Habits teaches me to kind of tone it in, and that small steps that you take and do right and take the time to actually do it will lead to the big picture. And I think you can tie that back to what we do in prospecting, right? The way I think of it is when times are good and that business is flowing in, it's just magic, right? You're burning and churning. But then when times are slow, I always tell my agents, you have to get back to basics. Sometimes you have to make cold calls. So you just have to remember when you first started out in insurance, what you need to do. And Atomic Habits really reminds me of that. Small little things really do, if you do them consistently and the right way, they will lead you to the bigger picture and the bigger goals.
Amazing book.
I'm gonna add that to my list.
Well, of course, I have to be different. I'm not a reader. I'll go ahead and fess up, say that
enough.
right straight up,
No
right?
shame here.
And mine's probably not super recent, but I know growing up, my dad always told me, can't, never, could, do nothing, right? And sometimes we all have these little inner voices that'll tell us, there's no way you're going to be able to do that. Come on, you serious? And I have to remind myself every now and then, can't, never, could, do nothing. I mean, my dad was raised in a children's home. His mom left him, right? So he himself put himself through college, met my mom, and ended up starting his own business in West Texas. And so I look back and I see all of the obstacles he overcame and what little ones I think I have, they're not so big, right? And you're prospecting and with our dealing with our ICMs, our agents every day, sometimes you got to remind them, don't ever say I can't. Give it a shot. You never know. Maybe you'll make a different way, but you're not going to know if you never tried. So you got to try.
I love that.
You got to try.
Absolutely.
Can't, never, could, do nothing. That's true. Going back to those pep talks and mindset, there we go.
There you go.
I love that. So I got a book recommendation the other day that somebody told me to read. So I started reading it.
Who would be that somebody?
Who would be that somebody that coached that? But so the book is Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy. And I don't even think I told you this, Chad, but one of the reasons why that stuck out, at a previous organization, the leader of the group would have us all pick a word. So at the end of the year, he would say, as we're doing strategic planning and walking into this next year, I want you to pick a word for the year. And then you're going to tell everybody what this word means to you, how you're going to work on it. We're going to hold you accountable to it. Well, a few years ago, before I left that organization, I picked the word excellence. And in my mindset, it was, how do I strive not to just get things done, jump to the next thing, because I tend to move fast and keep going, but how do I strive to do each thing with excellence? And my journey at that organization ended that year and a lot of things changed. And so you had me have a moment of reflection going, I really didn't finish that out well. And so I would really like to open this up in my own personal development and look at what is striving for excellence in everything. So background, Inner Excellence. It's a good book. If you want to go on a journey on it together and talk about it, I'm in it.
I'll go on that journey with you.
Okay,
I'll
perfect.
reread it.
All right, there we go.
Thanks.
Send me the Cliff Notes and then we'll catch up.
It's on Audible.
Oh, then I can do that.
You have a long
There you go.
drive.
I can do that.
Podcast.
There you go, every day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you can listen to podcasts on long
Gotcha.
drives too.
So typically I come in with a business book or something like that, but actually for me the big one is actually going back to the Bible this week. So going through at church, going through the book of Philippians, and when you kind of think about like all the stuff going on outside, how challenging things are, it's actually a great book to kind of get regrounded on joy, that it's not circumstantial, right? If we're focused on who we are, where our identity is right, then our calling and all that other stuff can shift, and joy is still there because we know who our identity is. So, book of Philippians is a great context read for anybody wanting to follow that.
That's really good.
It's actually a really good topic after what we've just been through nationally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much so.
Yeah, that's a great perspective.
All right. Well, with that, thank y'all very much. Appreciate y'all joining us. And for all of our listeners out there, if you're not a part of an alliance, definitely suggest that you reach out to Jessica or Robyn or Mindi. They'd love to hear from you. And until next time, onward and upward.